Throughout this channel, we've learned a lot of information, some useful, most of it not so much, but ultimately it's because of all this knowledge that I've been able to craft the worst possible solo character. For the weapon, a catalyst. For the element, one that does bad against shields and does nothing to enemies on its own. Abilities and passives designed around having other people in your party. And lastly, let's just sprinkle in a boss that you can't beat solo. Mix it all together and what do you get? A piece of fucking shit.
Ugh, it's hideous!
Yep. Today, we're going to try and beat Genshin Impact only using Nahida. But before we start the challenge, I would like to take a quick look at today's sponsor, Opera GX. Do I hear number 8? Yes, we have matured past 6, 7, which means that now 7, 8, 9. Because it's a play on numbers. But what you shouldn't play about is your location, because people like me can easily find it. And one of the features that Opera has is a built-in VPN and ad blocker. For free, you can set up your VPN and change your location to Asia, Europe, and America. It's like flying to another country without leaving your house and having to spend thousands of dollars. All you have to do is go over to your settings, then enable the VPN. Now, I don't have to go to ESPN to watch my WWE shows. I can use the European version of Netflix and get the same shows. As for the ad blocker, all you have to do is come over here, click on this, and oh, wow, you got it. Here's me trying to watch a Doro 44 video without the ad block, and here it is with the ad block turned on. There's even the video pop out, which is one of the reasons why I haven't killed myself. As for the other features that Opera has, the mods are what they're mainly known for. It's even in their name. You can go to the store and download hundreds of mods that come with different themes, keyboard sounds, wallpapers, browser sounds, and customize them to your heart's desire. If you're interested in Opera and are worried about losing your settings and bookmarks, that's totally understandable. Not. Just go over to the settings, synchronization, and look at import bookmarks and settings, select your old browser, and you'll have everything back like it was never gone. You can download Opera GX using my link in the description. Thank you again, Opera, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the rules. Here are the rules. We can only use Nahida. All weapons are allowed, including 5 stars, even though they don't matter, because we will only be using the Eye of Perception. Sorry for spoiling!
Oh, what a goddamn shame!
Now let's see if we can beat Genshin Impact only using Nahida. We start our journey back in 2024 during the Great Genshin CC controversy. As mentioned previously, during this time, little old me was just sitting at his computer trying to get a Nahida account. The first time I got Jean, the second time I got Kaching, which leads us to this account. We did our free standard 10 pull, got the Eye of Perception, and like a moth to a flame, we got our Dendro Goddess. Flash forward a couple of months, and we get to do some gaming. Now, you might be wondering, MistahFeet, you're so funny and attractive, but you recorded this challenge in 2024? What? Well, not exactly. I only attempted Amber and Lisa's domain because I remember at the time I was looking through my comments, and some guy posted a comment saying something along the lines of, they patched out the skips I do at the beginning of the game, and being the naive, gullible little boy that I was, I didn't fact check this statement and just logged onto Genshin as fast as possible to try it out with Nahida, since she's a small character and those are the hardest to do the skips for. Everything turned out to be a-okay, as I was able to complete both Amber and Lisa's domain at the time, but more importantly, I learned a valuable lesson to not trust everything you see on the internet. Once we made it into Kai's domain, we got just a little glimpse of Nahida's true damage potential, and we were now ready to show her the real world. And truth be told, she wasn't ready for this. She's a catalyst character, which we all know is terrible for these runs. They can't mine, and if we come across an enemy of the same element, we're effed. No cursing. The baby is sleeping. I'm gonna go insane. Why do I never get any control? No, 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 no. Don't make me use it. I thought this would be a good video. However, the one advantage that Catalyst characters can have is that their weapon attacks have a good amount of range. Unfortunately, Nahida does not follow this.
I always thought I might be bad.
Nahida believes that bouncing on a keyboard is the best way to damage enemies, meaning we have to stay closer to the enemy's moves. Nahida's skill is easily the best part of this character. Outside of combat, it's useful for picking up materials that don't have the word Oculus as the suffix, and it can read minds.
I'm almost out of cash again. Better go get some off Pa or Big Bro.
If you're a broke boy, just say so.
In combat, this ability does decent damage, has a really short cooldown, amazing range, and it can link enemies together. When the enemies are linked, anytime you deal elemental reactions, everyone who are tethered take damage. Unfortunately for us, that does not happen very often, especially when there's a reaction that's not in the game.
Rhyme Grass Blessing.
I found that quick scoping with her tends to be the best option. And then we have the Burst. Illusory Heart. Nahida manifests the Court of Dreams and expands her domain, the Shrine of Maya. When inside, this does absolutely nothing for us. Seriously. This burst is used to amplify Dendro reactions when you have other elements in your party. You don't have to be the god of knowledge to find the problem here. This burst does not work solo. The only ways I can use it are either for invincibility frames, or if I just want Nahida to yell at me.
The Temple of Wisdom!
Hey, Joe, that's like right in my f***ing ear.
I can confidently say that out of every character I've used so far, this is the worst burst. It literally does nothing.
Hold up. Cacao, hello. Hey, it's nothing. He says he knows you.
Lastly, we'll talk about Dendro, and as I alluded to earlier, this is one of the weaker elements to use solo, but is it worse than Hydro? And I can say that the answer is no. Dendro has problems, just not as much as Hydro. And there's two big reasons why I believe it is a better element to have for a solo run. The first is that since Hydro is a base game element, there are more enemies that either resist Hydro or are immune to it. The second reason is that when Dendro gets reactions, it is amazing. Rain is the best thing to happen to Nahida. She becomes the best solo character in the game if it is raining. Seriously, it is absurd. But that is a big potential main statement. So in most situations, this character performs pretty poorly. However, we can help out the poor by ascending them. After a 30-minute walk to Sumeru, we collected our, what would have been annoying to gather materials, and brought Nahida up to 40, where she will stay for a while because we can't beat her boss. I hope you guys are having fun with these types of videos.
I always thought I might be bad. Now I'm sure that it's true.
Nahida started Act 2 of Mondstadt in 4 hours and 40 minutes, which is really bad when comparing it to the other Archons. Even two of them are basically done at this point. So, does it get better for Nahida?
Hold on, Donovan. I see a gay boy. It doesn't get better.
And part of the reason for that is the Eye of the Storm. Unlike most other Catalyst characters, Nahida can't hit this enemy while it's in the air, because these attacks are grounded. Man, I love having the one benefit of these weapons being taken away. But this character is smart, which is one advantage we have over the rest of the cast. Notice how we are able to avoid conflict by just simply conversing and having intellectual debates with our fellow man.
What is faster, sound or light?
I think sound, bro. That was fast as though, I ain't gonna lie.
Also, just a side note that I wanted to point out, Nahida's charge attack has a computer mouse on it, and since this is pretty accurate to how I delete items in Photoshop, that means this confirms the existence of Photoshop and computers in the world of Genshin Impact. Either that, or it means Nahida is the living embodiment of MistahFeet in Genshin Impact, which I really hope is not the case. Fighting against the Ruin Guard is when I realized, wow, I really don't like listening to this character's auto attacks. Can we please have any other form of damage?
That stupid keyboard crap!
Which leads to my prayers being answered in the next domain where we get to do some blooming.
Oh my god!
Act 3 of Mondstadt begins in the rain, so we already know that the next group of enemies are gonna get one-shotted. Except, as soon as I ulted, all of the rain disappeared. I know the top of the shrine is bright, but is she summoning the sun? Dvalin's fight surprised me with how quickly Nahida cleared it. I fully expected this little chudling to absolutely bomb this attempt just like Kale did, but she cleared this in a pretty fast time. The same cannot be said for her overall Mondstadt time though, as she finished in 6 hours, 19 minutes, and 15 seconds, so we can safely say that she will not overtake the Shogun as the new Anemo Archon. Maybe Leeway will be better. I spoke too soon. I'm not gonna get into another tangent about Lantern Rite since I already discussed why this is one of the worst times for a newer player to get into Genshin. It's another 30 minutes of my life that I won't get back, but at least it continues the miraculous Ladybug streak because Nahida's VA sadly does not have any involvement in the show, but she does voice Frederic, who is the main antagonist of Freddy's Friday. Just running. He just walked.
Everyone hold hands.
Leeway Act 1. They say that this quest isn't too bad, which leads me into asking the non-binary, have you tried this with Nahida? So for the combat side of this, our damage is still not good. I could complain about this all day long, but Nahida explains the situation better than I ever could.
This might hurt a little.
That's literally all that needs to be said. This doesn't even always hurt a little. She said it might, which implies the existence that the damage will not hurt at all. And I can confirm that because we have this burst. But teacher, doesn't that also imply that the damage could hurt a lot?
Well, that's just simply wrong. 20 points for that statement.
As for the other parts of this quest, the Lorax is able to use the tree to make it across Cloud Retainer's domain. Then we have Mountain Shaper. I'm not even gonna play the clip. Okay, so it is now the third time I've had to do this, but unlike the previous times, this part will not take nearly as long to discuss, and it's not for a good reason.
I always thought I might be bad.
Catalyst characters cannot break the amber, so what we have to do is make Overload with a Pyro enemy and the Electro status that an Electro enemy can give us. In the past, I've been lucky so as to get the missing brother and one of the rocks down here, which is near both an Electro and Pyro enemy. After many tries, Nahida was able to break the rock, but the brother wasn't there, because we can't have nice things in this run. Please, Nahida, I need this! And what's worse is that we can't even break the other rocks here, because there either isn't a Pyro enemy nearby, or Nahida's baby legs are too slow, which means I had to pull out Ga Mink. But I don't know if I want to call this a can't, because Nahida can do this, she just got bad RNG. You know what, I am going to call this a can't because I don't like her.
Got a staring problem, pal?
And you want to know one of the reasons why I don't like her? It's because we can't ascend her to level 50. We can level her weapon, but not her. Gee, thanks Nahida. Now I'm playing with heat.
I hope you die in a fire.
Unfortunately, we aren't literally playing with heat. That was a figure of speech. Because if we were playing with heat, we would be able to fire up this pot. To quote that one bear from the movie Sing, the best part about hitting rock bottom is that there's only one direction to go now, up. And that was certainly the case with Madam Ping's teapot. Aside from the Geo Slime, every single enemy here died instantly. They died so fast. You could even say they died quickenly. They died quickenly. I'm grasping at straws with this character. Sorry, I guess you could say I'm not a big fan of this character. Sorry, I guess I just feel like killing myself recently. It's 3 jokes in a row.
It's time to sing whenever you're ready. I want you crying for me. I want you.
The ending of Act 3 was Nahida's best performance so far. That's not necessarily an accomplishment when you compare it to her run, but nevertheless, she was making some moves here. Our little Chudling was put on the run by Child, but she still managed to hit for over 2k here, and her skill remained very useful. Not because of the tether or reactions, no, we don't get that privilege, but this move actually has a lot of range, so you can just run away, use the hold skill, and they can't really touch you. Oh. However, now we get to the part that Nahida was born to do. Protecting the Guizhong Ballista. This is where Potential Man ascends beyond.
He is not just a man. He's not just a Superman. He is the prophet of the Lord!
Holy! Nahida was just shredding everybody here. Oh my god, I'm blooming! Whoa, okay, that was sus. Please don't clip that. I was just thinking about me. Yo, chill. Okay, this is gonna make me look bad to new viewers, okay? I'm not like this normally. Nahida finished Leeway after 12 hours, 52 minutes, and 1 second, and with a Leeway runtime of 6 hours, 11 minutes, and 53 seconds, giving her the second fastest time of all the Archons. And to make this even more impressive, this was done during Lantern Rite, so she had to deal with the filler. I guess not having a boss can really speed up your times in these runs, unless you're the Shogun who spends half an hour dealing with Child. Now, I'm going to address something serious to you all. Throughout this video, I have been lying to you. And it's not me saying this is a bad character, she still sucks. But rather, I kept saying we couldn't ascend Nahida, which is false. Remember, don't trust everything you see on the internet. Nahida can be ascended in a solo run, but prior to doing this challenge, I did not think it was possible. I thought this because I figured just using Dendra on these pillars wasn't enough to fill up the bar, leaving Nahida in a perpetual loop against this boss. Almost like a Samsara. But luckily for me, Nahida can do this by herself. So what is this fight like? Believe it or not, it's really not that bad at all. This boss's attacks are pathetic. They are so easy to dodge, aside from this one branch move, but it doesn't do any damage. No wonder it's so weak. It's a Zayn. Those are the weakest egos. The Odyssey did have a purpose. I had to cross multiple countries just to get 2 quelled creepers.
Creeper. Oh man.
The only reason this boss takes any time to do is because of our weapon. Yes, we do have to wait every 12 seconds, but it could be so much worse.
I always thought I might be bad.
This might actually be the easiest boss I've ever had to do solo if I'm looking at just its moves alone. For the next 3 quests, I'm gonna keep these short. I'm on a roll today.
I'm such a fat fucking chud.
Unfortunately, Nahida was not able to break the materials during the Jade Chamber quest. Will there come a day where a Catalyst user can finally break the generational trauma? I really don't know, and honestly, I'm not gonna play these characters just so I can say yes. As for the enemies in this quest, Nahida did great against most of them. The slimes were just like those squishy dumpling fidgets, but unlike real life, now a child gets to actually play with them. Blooming might just be the best interaction in this game that doesn't have the words hyper or lunar as a prefix. And just to think that this character could have cleared these quests even faster if it wasn't for the Barber run all those years ago. Do I know if that video was responsible for this change? I honestly have no idea, but I'm willing to bet not a single other person playing this game thought about how many Hydro enemies were in that one quest. Inazuma, the Land of Electro, or as I like to call it, the Land of Opportunity. And I call it that because now that our Nahida is leveled up, she has a good chance to finally become an Archon. This is a very strong start at the beach. Look at how much fun I get to have when there's water nearby. This momentum even continues over to the prison because of the armor. Typically in this section, you want to either A, kill the guards as fast as possible, or B, just turn off the electro suit. But what Nahida wants to do is wait. She knows her time will come. Because once they all get electrified, Nahida now has access to elemental reactions, which instantly shreds them. Never before has a character had such a 180 in her run. I'm telling you, she is potential, man. Give her reactions, and she is the best character to use. She is unstoppable, or at least she would be if we didn't have to do archery. Nahida's attacks nor the Temple of Wisdom could reach the target. Now, the held version of the skill could, but it doesn't do any damage for some reason, so we're just stuck reading their minds. One thing that true, dedicated, and loyal MistahFeet fans may have noticed is that by now, I haven't talked much about the Eye of Perception, and that's because I haven't had to rely on it as much as I did for the other characters. But if you're curious as to what it's been up to these days, you can still see it bouncing on walls. Some things never change. But I'm sure a lot of you so-called fans didn't even think about that. Probably too busy liking terrible Raiden Shogun posts.
Sir, you can check my history. I've never liked one of her posts. Here, just check it, look.
Act 3 continues Nahida's upward growth on the charts. Aside from this Electro Monument stopping her, Nahida's skill worked extremely well in the first couple of areas. But what makes it so strong is its short cooldown and its effect against the elements. When we're using this on a normal enemy, there's not too much value. But against elemental shields, it is a monster, like this Pyro Sniper, for example. Once he puts up the shield, we can link him to other enemies, burn the shield, and now they are all taking damage. This even applies to Blooming.
My god.
I'm blooming.
Throughout all of Inazuma, I have been praising Nahida's strength in combat. But when it comes to the end of this nation's story, we're going back to the beginning of the chart. Look at my little chuddling Archon, man. Senor is a boss that sadly does not have an element inflicted on her constantly. Not that it would change anything for the Cryo phase.
Rhyme Grass Blessing.
But Burn could have been useful for Pyro. We're just stuck with using our plain normal attacks and this reactionless skill. I might as well be hitting the Shogun with an actual keyboard instead of these auto attacks. I think I could do more damage. I'm being so serious. I really do think I could. Like me, the person. Nahida finished Act 3 after 20 hours and 33 minutes and completing Inazuma in just 3 hours, 31 minutes, and 48 seconds, making her the new Electro Archon. Man, I did not see that coming. I didn't even have to play the bad song for her in this nation. I'll do it for you though, Raiden.
I always thought I might be bad.
With our descent into the chasm, we get further proof that Hydro is indeed the worst solo catalyst to use. Nahida cleared past both the Herald and Lecter effortlessly, but the mages were more of an issue for her since burning a shield made of fire means nothing, and neither does putting grass on snow. If you haven't noticed by now, this character's biggest weakness is Cryo. Your weakness is Cryo?
You're kidding, right?
Can't wait for these two to eventually get a reaction and date this video horribly.
Rhyme Grass Blessing.
Also, rock here, no break, use Beto. Celebrating Nahida's recent success, we ascended up to level 70, giving her a tremendous power spike to help her dominate her homeland of Sumeru. Her skill doesn't work on the flowers here. Hoyoverse, you need to come fix this now before I get angry, and trust me, you do not want to see that. Speaking of things you don't want to see, it's non-elemental enemies. And what's even worse is that we came across our first Dendro enemies. Thankfully, we don't have to rely on the 12-second bounces to damage them.
I always thought I might be bad.
You will notice that our damage suffers drastically without elemental reactions, but what makes it better than other Catalyst characters are the endless possibilities that our skill offers us. See, she can even knock out the Dendro enemies by just sniping them. I don't have to use the eye of perception, and that makes me king! See? You might see this and call it the 5th act of Sumeru, but a beast like me sees this and calls this the second coming of Nahida, because it's back to the elemental enemies. The time has come. This doesn't necessarily mean our quest was free though, because, you know, elemental shields are surprisingly annoying here. And I say surprisingly because usually these elements go hand in hand with each other, even more so than Hydra. But the shield damage is not the best here. Another problem we had was this Pyro Sniper. I have no idea why, but for some reason its health kept resetting. It's literal just rage baiting at this point. Scaramouche is next, which means it's time for the stepmother to finish what the mother started. This is personal for Nahida, because every time in the past I've gotten to this section with a character that couldn't beat the turrets, she's had to eat the death ball with us. But now we get our revenge. More specifically, Trial Nahida gets her revenge. I don't know why they restrict my Nahida, my build, my journey, but sure, whatever. I don't even care that much anymore. Greater Lord Rukadevada, more like Greater Lord more like Greater Lord Rukadevada. Got him. Now you might be wondering, if we were just next to Irminsul and Nahida is right here, what could possibly be going on? And the answer is simple. I left Sumeru, but I also stayed in Sumeru. Also, Kid cannot make fire. Not surprised, she's only been able to do the Dendro Pillar in this whole run. Every other obstacle, she cannot do Duke to them. Maybe the Shrine of Maya will be useful. Nope.
I always thought I might be bad.
Nahida finished this nation after 31 hours and 30 seconds, but for her specific time in Sumeru, she actually did the worst compared to her peers, with it taking her 8 hours and 50 minutes to accomplish. But we can officially say that Nahida is no longer the Dendro Archon.
You like that? Huh? You like that?
However, Nahida and Water have shown to be tremendous friends at numerous points in this playthrough, so maybe, just maybe, she can become the next Hydro Archon. I don't think that's gonna happen, because despite this being the Water Nation on the waterfall, we couldn't get any Bloom here. And by now it should be clear that this character is not the best without Bloom. Jesus, Tony. She might be as bad as the Shogun.
Shut up, God forbid, God forbid. Don't talk like that.
But we're hitting for 2024 in the Big 2-6. We've got ourselves a problem. However, at one point in this nation, we did get a special return. It's Bloom. Yes, there was a little bit of bloom here, just a little bit. This isn't anything compared to like the rain amount, but it's better than nothing. I like to call these the baby bloomers, but unlike their cousins, the baby boomers, these cores aren't destroying the housing economy, but rather our enemies. That's right, Nahida fights for you. You want to know what happens in the whale fight? She gets swallowed, but she doesn't go straight into the whale's stomach. No, she goes straight into the hearts of millions of fans. Nahida for president. In order for Nahida to become the leader of Fontaine, she has to complete its last act faster than the rest. And I don't think she's winning. So for the first bit of Abyssal Shields, it went fine for Nahida. You know, we took the enemies over to the kiddie pool, but then we had to deal with a Cryo Abyss Lecter, so that was miserable. No reactions here, yet.
Rhyme Grass Blessing.
Which means I gotta deal with this enemy for 15 minutes while listening to this keyboard. Nahida finishes Act 6 after 40 hours and a total Fontaine time of 7 hours, 59 minutes, and 49 seconds, making her the slowest Archon for Fontaine. At least she has the support of the fans. We've seen Nahida go through some pretty big highs in this run, and also some very low lows. So where does Natlan fall in this? Natlan can best be described as Nahida's whole journey put into one nation, if that makes any sense. We can get some peaks here with elemental reactions and rain buffing our damage, but we can also suffer through numerous moments of low damage and getting hit for 4K. At this point in the run, quickscoping is really all that Nahida has left, but that's okay.
Because do you really need anyone else?
This skill has a lot of distance, and we are going to be using that as our main advantage for this. Especially since this character has no form of healing on her own. I don't know why they couldn't just like make her eat grass or something and it heals like 12% of her HP. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. Honestly, I don't think it is. It's not like it would make her broken or anything. Tell me, do you really think Nahida eating grass and recovering health would make her any more busted than Moika?
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
And that grass would be very helpful against the cryo enemies when this reaction inevitably comes out. It has to.
Rhyme Grass.
The war wasn't as bad of an experience that I initially thought it would be. There weren't many reactions we could get in this section, but what really saved Nahida here was how she dealt with the totems and mimics. It's been so long since last I used a character that could deal with these things quickly, and not all Catalyst characters get to do these for free.
I always thought I might be bad.
If you ever wondered why kids get sent into wars, look no further than Nahida's performance here. Nahida did Act 4 better than Shogun, that's for sure. But before this pot can call the kettle black, we've got to see if she can clear Natlan faster than her, because right now, Nahida is currently slower than the Shogun. But the enemies in Act 6 are looking pretty good for Nahida, so she might just have a chance. The first group of enemies in Act 6 mainly consist of Hydro Shields. Whatever Cryo is good against, Dendro is also good against, for the most part. So a lot of the enemies were defeated in a relatively quick fashion here, up until the Dainslift section. Nahida was beginning to close in on the Shogun, but there was a suspiciously shaped Pyro Abyss Herald speed bump ahead of her. This definitely set her back by a couple of minutes, but thanks to the Electro Mage and Hydro Mage, she was able to make up some time left. She was only just behind the Shogun, with 2 enemies remaining, and for one of them, she was able to use the fan favorite reaction.
My god, I'm blooming!
But what's this? The Shogun pulled out her secret technique to kill Nahida's run, the Cryo Abyss Lecter. Nahida struggles, and she tirelessly tries, but she cannot do it in time, which means...
The almighty Raiden Shogun.
And after 50 hours, 57 minutes, and 45 seconds, we beat Genshin Impact only using Nahida, with her Natlan time being 8 hours, 45 minutes, and 58 seconds, making her the slowest character for this nation, meaning that as of now, Nahida is just the Electro Archon. Nahida's run was on the lower end of characters I've had to use. Granted, I didn't have the highest expectations for her. I honestly thought that she was going to be the worst character I've ever used, because prior to this challenge, I didn't think she was going to be able to beat her boss. So imagine if I had to do all of this while only being level 40. That's why I was dreading it.
If I was in the situation, I literally think
I would just start crying.
But look at her now. It's not the worst, but it's nowhere near the best. And we can see exactly how she squares up to the opposition by taking her to the rankings. Damage, I'm gonna go with a 3. She has a short cooldown in her held skill and can hit multiple enemies while also having great range. But what holds her down is the fact that her burst is useless, the autos are weak, but you know, when the range shows up, this character's the best DPS I've ever had. Exploration, I'm gonna go with the 2. She only gets an extra point here because of the held skill. Sustain, 0. Just give her the grass eating ability. Bosses, 2. The damage without reactions isn't that great, so when we can't use them in boss fights, we're just existing. Aside from like the Dvalin one, every other boss was like, you know, she's just the chudling. Now, if it was raining in those boss fights, we knew this would be peak. And lastly, ability / utility, I'm gonna go with a 2. Out of the burst, passives, and ability, only one of those is useful. The others rely on team members or too much investment in a stat that isn't always beneficial. This skill is very good. One of the best skills in a solo run, honestly. You just have to have reactions. Take it away, and she is nothing. Overall, Nahida gets a 9 out of 25, giving her an F, and ending with an unbuffed damage high of 2k and a buff damage high of 5k. They don't call her a lesser lord for nothing, but I'm still gonna slander Shogun more in the future because I actually had expectations for her, unlike Nahida. You and the almighty. As I mentioned earlier, the best part about hitting rock bottom is that there's only one way up from here, and our next Archon is gonna take us right to the top.
Tell me why.